And what I want to talk about today is my concern about elections on the local level. And we know there's tons and tons of voter fraud that's been proven across the nation, all across the nation. And I've seen some of the studies that were done on Todd County, and not everything was on the up and up according to them. To the point where I asked myself, well, exactly why am I an election judge? Which I have been the last couple elections, not sure how many, but so in October, I requested from the auditor treasurer for a list of the voters and the ballots cast, also known as the cast record vote, which breaks down how people voted and all that. That was on October 17th. I waited 10 business days. And in that letter, I also, the last line is, please provide these lists in accordance with open records requests pursuant to state law. So I waited 10 days. Didn't hear anything. So I did a follow-up, just wondering how the process is coming along. To which I got 2 emails back, I think the same day, or a couple days later maybe. I think I emailed on the 31st and got them back on the 3rd. One of them saying, I'm sorry to say I'm out of the office due to, well, they're pretty much the same, but one said specifically what, and the other one said I'm out of the office due to medical reasons, and referred me to the office, you know, if I needed immediate assistance. And in that letter, I'm assuming it was from Denise. That's what the heading says. I will promptly answer all emails upon my return. So I didn't hear anything back. So on November 12th, when I went to the auditor treasurers to pay my taxes, they asked me if there's anything else they could do. So I said, well, I had a question about the email that I had sent. And to which they went back into one office compartment and they discussed it, and then they went over to another one, and then after a little time, Jolene came up and said that because she is the one that'll be doing the work, she thought she'd come up and tell me, you know, what's taking place. And basically, she said that they are working on it. But because it was such an unusual request, they're just making sure that they have all their I's dotted and T's crossed before they send it out. But they are working on it. Okay. So that's the last I heard about that. That was 2 months ago. Haven't heard a thing. And, you know, I'm really concerned about the integrity at the local level. I just got done writing them a check for my taxes, which I'm willing to do if it's wisely used and all that. But in return, I'm a nobody. And if I'm the only one that feels that way in the county, you have very little to be concerned about, because I have zero intentions of taking things in matters into my own hands of any sort, you know, as far as that. But I think we have a very serious concern for the integrity of the election at the local level. So I had a few other questions about the elections that I asked. I asked about what kind of pens we use, and she answered that according to her knowledge, as far as the county, they just provided the ballpoint. So I asked it about the election judges for the school referendum that we had in November of 2021. And because I'm an election judge too, I didn't hear anything, and I realize there are thousands of election judges, but I wanted to know who got to choose the election judges for the school referendum. To which she said, well, on a year where there's just a simple yes or no vote, there's no candidate involved whatsoever, the school will contact the county for a list of the certified election judges. And then the county provides that to the school, and then the school makes a choice of the election judges. So I stepped back a little bit and I said, I'm not barking at you, but let me get this straight. Would it be the school board? And she said, yeah. So the school board will choose the election judges on a referendum that the school is trying to get passed. Which she's like, yes, but we tell them, you know, they need to be on the up and, you know, be honest and all that. And I said, I'm sorry, but that is no way kosher whatsoever. The school board gets to choose the election judges that they want to be the judges on a referendum. And so I like I said, I have a real concern about our elections at the local level, at the county level. I see no reason why we need the electronic machines. I think we have plenty of people with integrity within our county that are willing to help, where we do not need any electronic machines, devices, tabulators. I'm an election judge, and I felt the looks, and I've heard the language from people in my own neighborhood about the blankety blank what so-called machines that we allowed to come in. And it's my understanding that you guys had a say in allowing the machines in. You know, to what extent, I don't know all that, but so that's my concern. I have a real concern because it only takes one vote to cast my vote out. One illegitimate vote will X me out, and which is the same for everybody. So
Thank you.
that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, did you wish to address the board today at all?
He's on the agenda.
Oh, you're on the regular agenda. Sorry, I didn't recognize you, Gerhard. All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I ask Enos? Enos, which township are you in the, a judge?
Little soft.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, we have been working with Enos. The first email that I got from him, I transferred it on to my election administration, which is Jolene. She has been working with him. It's been a long leg because we had several cases of COVID in my office, but she has been working with the state because a lot of this data we are privy to that we can't even give out. We don't even get access to after the election. So sometimes requests that are made for these reports have to go right to the state. And she has been working with Stella down at the State Department because they're trying to get the information that he is looking for in the correspondence format that he wants it, and our files aren't matching. So in our last 2 weeks, we just received an email from Stella telling us to reach out to some of our adjacent counties and see how they format that information from the state data to get it into what they're requesting. So we are still diligently working on it, and yes, it has been quite a process, and I apologize, but it has been due to some constrictions at the state level of what the data privacy we can actually get of the voter information. And to follow that up on the second statement of the school board, that's a standalone election. We're just here as a guidance for them, so how they handle picking their election judges, and they get a list of who's all been trained by us, and they get to just pick them, whether that's on them, not the county. So I just wanted to clarify a couple of those things on behalf of my office. So Jolene is still gathering that data for him.
go, Denise?
Yeah.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second regular board meeting of January of Todd County Board of Commissioners. Time is 9 a.m., date Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. All commissioners except Commissioner Kneisel is absent. Present also here, Auditor Treasurer and County Coordinator. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to, I think at the last meeting, we tabled the Supreme Court, waiting for the Supreme Court ruling on COVID, so I would like to have maybe just a little bit of discussion on that, on what we're, so I'd like to add that under administration.
Is that gonna be like a 10-3 then, is
Yeah.
that what that is? 10-3 discussion, Dave?
Yes. Just that we tabled it to see what the Supreme Court was gonna do, and they did make a decision, so
Okay,
a little discussion on how we're gonna move forward if possible. Maybe.
sounds good.
I didn't mean to catch the coordinator off guard here, but I just thought of it a little bit ago.
All right, thank you.
Any other changes,
I have none.
additions?
I have none, Madam, Mr. Chair.
I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as changed, amended.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher,
Second.
second by Newman. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, carried. Consent items.
Consent items today would be the meeting minute approval for January 4th, 2022. Emily Burscheit resignation, part-time dispatch, 12/30/2021. Approval to hire heavy equipment operator Alex Kimber, start date to be determined. Hiring a soil and water conservation resource riparian Joshua Vitruba, start date to be determined. 3.2 malt liquor license for Swanville Sobieski Lions. American Legion 417 Oscar Jacobson Post, a one-day dance license. And then American Legion 417 Oscar Jacobson Post, one-day temporary on-sale liquor license.
Okay, you've heard the consent items. Is there a motion to approve?
So move
Mo-
with intent for discussion.
Okay, motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion.
Yes, Dave, when I was chair, kept bringing up that when we hire that to be determined under employees. I've been watching all my meetings, and the only place I ever see it is on our county board, and I'm questioning why. I guess I'm gonna get on Dave's bandwagon and ask why. And if, you know, are they in the process of going through it yet? And if they are, should they not be brought to the board until they're ready to be hired?
Okay, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Becker, the reason why we have a to-be-determined date is because if the board does not approve the hire, the person will not be leaving their current employment. So we leave that as a to-be-determined. Once the board makes the approval on this, that is typically when the person who's being hired would give their notice to their employer. So depending on what that notice requirement is, if it's 2 weeks, if it's 3 weeks, there's not a specific set date because that person may not have set a date of leaving their current employment.
So then could we use that, the date of that 2-week notice as the start date?
You could if the person was required to give a 2-week notice, it may be a 3-week notice, it may be an
If
immediate.
we could use that date then. I
We-
mean, we're the only ones that are not putting a date in there. And I've been watching very closely since Dave brought it up.
Madam or Commissioner Becker, if you could clarify, we're the only ones.
As far as all my other committees, corrections, we just had Rainbow Rider, Friendly Rider, they all have a start date in there.
And again, the problem with putting that date in is we do not know what the requirements are on that person. If it's a 2-week notice, a 3-week notice, a 1-week notice, if they can start immediately tomorrow, we don't know those things. We don't know until we let them know that the board has approved it. Once the board has approved it today, that date could be,
I mean, Chris, couldn't it actually work the other way around, saying it's going to go to the board with that start date being this date, which is allowing you to give that, and we would approve it with a start date out 2 weeks from now?
and the risk is if the board does not approve that. It's a board approval. If the board does not approve this, I mean, everybody's,
We would be approving it 2 weeks out, and that person wouldn't have given their notice yet until after the board meeting.
we could discuss that in personnel, but that's the reason why the to be determined is on there, is because everybody has a different start date based on what their requirements are with their current employer, if they are currently employed. If they're not, they could probably start tomorrow.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just my curiosity was, in the past, when I was a department head, we had issues of when a person would retire, when did the county board approve their hiring and what was their hire date? Because it kind of differed. And then we go back and say, well, when were they eligible for para and so forth? And also their severance package. So my concern is if we say today we're approving the hire of this Alex Kimber, for example, does that say his or hers para starts today? Or is it when the HR writes down the date they actually started work?
So all of these dates, I mean, they can be, they are tracked here with when the board approves that hire, but those official start dates are tracked within our HR system.
Okay.
And they are tracked in a number of systems. So we would not have any confusion within the HR systems on what specific date they started, when they would be eligible to begin PERA or any of those other benefits that they get.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, in the past, with my experience, and that's been a few years ago, there wasn't any record. What they had to do was go back and look at the board resolution to see when they were hired.
The tracking today is much better than what it's
And
ever been.
I appreciate that, so, maybe I'm antiquated myself, but, just saying that I'm always concerned about, it's for the benefit of the employee and the county to say when we have an official hire date, so.
Mr. Chair, would it be helpful to the board if with these consent items, we had some type of documentation where we showed the actual start dates of the officials that you, or of the people that you've already approved for hire? I mean, just to have maybe an HR report within the consent items? Would that be helpful?
Well, to me, it's not concerning to me personally unless I'm on the I think it should go to the personnel committee to show an actual, give a report to the personnel committee.
Okay.
That's what I would like to see. To come in and tell the board this is an actual, I mean, that's fine, but I just think it should go to the personnel committee so they can be on top of what is actually being kept track of. And if that's okay, Mr. Chair, I'm just making a suggestion. Maybe you don't agree with it.
We certainly can do that. That would be an easy thing to do, to just include it in the minutes of Personnel Committee.
Sure.
And we get that as a full board, the minutes, so.
And I think what, Mr. Chair, what Commissioner Becker is looking for, I think, is the effective start date, when
Right.
this individual is actually starting in Todd County.
Understood.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, I had a motion and a second. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
First item
Auditor
I
treasurer.
have today then, under the auditor treasurer, is auditor warrants for December 2021. Background is sent for your review. The recommendation is to approve the December 2021 auditor warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $1,590,162.07.
Okay, you see in the board action for the auditor warrants in the amount of $1,590,162.07. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion by Newman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher,
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson.
Yes.
Where am I at here in my? Next item then is the commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in $105,811.64.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the commissioner warrants, total amount $105,811.64. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion by Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
The next item is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $108,656.49.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the Health and Human Services Commissioner warrants, total amount $108,656.49. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Next item is the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants. Background was sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $89,129.52.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants, total amount $89,129.52. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
The next item we have is the all county department change in petty cash fund approval, annual approval. In order to maintain in compliance with state auditing standards and statutes, it's recommended to approve annually the change and petty cash funds across all county departments. The attached resolution is reaffirming the petty cash and change funds with no modifications since the previous adoption in 2021. The recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution for the approval of all county departmental change and petty cash funds.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to the approval of all county departmental change and petty cash funds. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next item is to establish a restricted fund balance for Clean Water Partnership CWP loan program. On April 21st, 2020, the county board approved the Clean Water Partnership loan program with MPCA in the board action listed. The loan application fees, principal and interest are collected and held in the general fund account 01613. As of 12/31/2021, the fund balance of the CWP loan program is $6,676.90. State auditor's recommendation is to approve by resolution a restricted fund balance on an annual basis for transparent financial reporting. These funds are to be collected and held to supply for the loan repayment of MPCA. Your options are to adopt the attached resolution or do not adopt the attached resolution. It is the recommendation to adopt the attached resolution establishing a restricted fund balance for Clean Water Partnership CWP loan program. It is a budgeted item in the amount of $6,676.90.
Okay, and then do you have the resolution attached down below that? Is it?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, everybody had a chance to read the resolution and adopt it, and we'll bring forward the balance for the CWP loan program. Look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Newman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion.
Yes, is that the total amount that's in that fund, or is that a rollover amount? This is for the septic.
Yeah, this is the septic loan program.
Okay, and that's a total,
Received reimbursements up to the tax assessment.
well, that's the tax assessments that we received back.
The incoming
For
money.
payment.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Don't start repayment until towards the end of next year. So that fund to repay is.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next board action is the Todd County Development Corporation 2022 allocation. Background is in 2022 budget for the support of the Todd County Development Corporation has been approved at $74,500, and a letter of request has been received to transfer the funds. Your options are to approve the transfer of funds or do not. The recommendation is to approve the attached resolution to transfer the funds from the general fund to the Todd County Development Corporation Fund in the amount of $74,500, and it's a budgeted item, and attached is the resolution.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to the transfer of funds to the Todd County Development Corporation Fund for the amount of $74,500 with the attached resolution. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next item I have is the Todd County Wadena Corrections 2022 allocation. Background is the 2022 Todd County budget for the support of the Todd Wadena Corrections has been approved at $603,851, and a letter of request has been received to transfer the allocated funds. Your options are to approve the transfer or do not. The recommendation is to approve the attached resolution for the transfer of funds from the general fund to the Todd Wadena Community Corrections Fund for the 2022 allocation. And there is the attached resolution.
Okay, you've seen the board action and the attached resolution to transfer funds to the Todd Wadena Community Corrections Funds. And only the first half then would be going out, is that correct? Doesn't that go out in two halves? Thought I had read that somewhere in there. Doesn't it go out as 3-0 something? That me being goofy or
No,
no?
no, you're right, well,
I think it is, isn't it? Isn't it one payment now and one in July or something?
it says right in their letter,
There
a
you go.
one-time transfer.
I thought I had read it somewhere
The
in there.
two-part transfer is Wadena County.
Yep, so actually the first transfer would be going now and then.
We have done both though, Mr. Chair. Yep.
Second, correct, but we're approving both at this time, so. All right, looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next item I have today is the repurchase of a tax forfeited parcel. The background is parcel 20-000419000 succumbed to tax forfeiture on July 9th, 2021. Application has been filed with the Todd County Auditor Treasurer for the repurchase of the tax forfeited parcel. Minnesota Statute 282.241 allows the provision for persons to repurchase a tax forfeited parcel when conditions are suit. Options are to approve the attached resolution or do not. Attach the resolution with statements of facts. The recommendation is to approve the attached resolution for the purchase of the tax forfeited parcel 20-0041900 by Earl L. Thom.
Okay, excuse me.
Mr. Chair, just a point of correction. If you back up on the top, you have 2 zeros in front of, or 3 zeros.
I seen that when I read that.
Okay, and in the bottom, you only have 2 zeros, so just to make sure we're on the right track when
With
it
the right
doesn't come
parcel.
down, the right parcel down there.
Okay, you've seen the board action and the attached resolution for the repurchase of the property as the parcel stated there. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next item I have is to rescind the board action 2021-1210-14 supplemental publication of legal notices. Here's the background. The Todd County Board of Commissioners adopted a board action requested by the Long Prairie Leader to authorize the supplemental distribution and publication of legal notice in the Osakis Anchor publication. Due to the change in the Todd County's official legal publication newspaper designation for 2022, the Osakis Anchor is now included as a publication under the Joint Publishers Agreement in the Board Action 2021-12-10-14 duplicates the county's publishing commitments. Your options are to rescind that board action or do not. It is the recommendation to rescind the board action 2021-1210-14 for the supplemental publication of legal notices due to the change in the Todd County's official legal publication newspaper designation for 2022, which duplicates the county's publishing comments for the Osakis Anchor.
Okay, you've heard the board action in regards to rescinding the previous board action.
Mr. Chair, we have discussion.
Yes.
I did ask for clarification from the county coordinator on, it says budgeted, but I'm assuming, what I was told is this will not cost us any money, am I correct?
That is correct. There is no additional cost for this publication with the Osakis paper. As it was previously, there was going to be a cost, and now it's just included in that regular publication.
It's actually a cost savings because we were going to
Right.
be ending to pay to Osakis.
Right. It's a little misleading though when it says it's budgeted, so
Right.
it really isn't costing us a thing, so.
Right.
Okay, if I could, Mr.
Sure.
Chair. My question is the Staples World never put in a, but their was late.
They're bid.
Their bid was late. By us rescinding this bid, does that open it back up to the Staples paper to be able to put a bid in?
No, we're rescinding something that happened in December that involved the Long Prairie Leader
Okay,
and his
Yes.
adventure out to Osakis.
okay, and
Anchor.
it doesn't have anything to do
Nothing
with
to do with it.
the
Actually, we're
bid
just,
processing
no,
part of
nothing
it,
with the bid.
or
No.
what we opened up during the meeting?
no, we're just
Okay.
saving the county dollars because this would have been a double publication cost because he already had it in his Long Prairie Leader extra pub, because that's separate.
Yeah,
And then when.
but this doesn't change the bid process that we did.
We're not,
Okay.
we're rescinding a board action that you as a board took action on. We're not opening up bids, we're not opening up the bid process. We're just rescinding a board action that was already on file.
Okay, just for clarification, thank you.
And I did have a discussion with Jason in regards to this, and he would have been here today, but he had to be out for other reasons. But and I believe he sent it to you, Chris, also, is that he's in favor of this and it's fine. He agreed with it, that it would have been a doubling up on his end of the world of the Long Prairie Leader Acre.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, back in December when we approved this, was that pending some funding source?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Kircher, we were going to be using the American Rescue Plan dollars potentially. We were tentatively looking into that. So, but at this time, we don't have to take any action on using those funds. And Commissioner Becker, two totally separate topics.
I just seen this
Okay.
come up and I wanted to make sure that was clarified. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Otherwise, I would look for a motion to rescind board action number 2021-1210-14.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a
Second.
second by Newman? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Todd County Egg Society, come on up, Gerhart. I'll let you take it from there.
Just discussion from the bill that we got for demo derby track construction. Just kind of wanted a little more clarification for this bill, because to my knowledge, the county was out there to fix it from conditions that it was left in, which we did not leave it in.
Okay. Mr. Feldbaum, would you want to respond? Sure, why not?
So according to my knowledge, the Bike and Trike Rally rented the facility this summer, and they construct their own demo derby track. They typically put it back in the as good condition as was before, which basically is flat ground. Due to the lack of equipment that they had, I think they only had like a skid loader, they couldn't get it back as smooth, and then it got rainy this fall, and they didn't do a very good job. It was left in a pretty uneven condition. So we tried with our grader to go do it. We were getting stuck. We were gonna wait till it just about froze, you know, it gets that little crust. We were gonna go in there with our loader, back drag it, take an hour and be done. Very minimal cost time for us to do that. But in the meantime, we were told late in the game that we were requested to build this demo derby track for this winter activity. So we went out and did that, but due to the late conditions of the year, when we were told to do that, it took us a tremendous amount of time and effort, wear and tear on our equipment. We needed to go in there with a excavator to scratch out the frozen ground, and took the dozer and build up the embankments. Thus the large cost. We weren't sure what to do with it, so we tallied it up and submitted it to our auditor treasurer, who I guess forwarded it on to the appropriate entity, which would be the Ag Society. So this was a cost we had as public dollars. We weren't sure where to expend it. So that, I guess that's why they ended up with the bill.
I guess I would like to clarify, you know, we do tend to try and make our own track. It just, in the condition it was in, it was,
It was late, yeah. I mean, that's what hard. I mean, it got hard fast is what happened, I think, yes. Yeah.
and, you know, we can't control how much rain we got in the fall. I really don't think it's anyone's fault, and I'm not trying to blame Bike and Trike.
Yeah.
I just wanted some clarification, and maybe a recommendation.
Thoughts from the board?
Did we see the dollar amount?
I could tell you,
Okay, 'cause I don't see it on here.
$2,032.11.
If you wanted to see an invoice, I have it here, if you wanted to pass it along. That's what they were billed.
So there should be a bill that we put out at Public Works, and attached to that is our, from our cost accounting system.
Next pages.
So all our staff's time is on there, included the piece of equipment that they have. So that's how we tally up our costs for all the projects we do. So every person's time has a rate, equipment has a rate, and they bill on their time cards according to that.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yep.
I've just kind of always tossed this around in my mind, you know, it's like the county billing themselves. I just get a little kind of curious as to, you know, it's a county fairgrounds. Yeah, we have an Ag Society and we have this and that, but it's kind of like, okay, why can't we work together and and be proud of our county fairgrounds and use it properly and do things and now, I mean, Lauren is charging time, which I know it costs them time, costs you materials, but it's county taxpayer money that's there. And I just think we're not using it wisely when we're saying, let's bill the other agency for doing something one agency does. And maybe you guys will think I'm all wet, but I have issues with that. I just think it's the time and effort it takes for you guys to switch bills, write checks, and do all this other crap to me, is a waste of time and energy. Why aren't we working together to say, okay, it's our fairgrounds, right? It's ours, the taxpayers. So why aren't we working together to get this done and not be charging everybody you know, and I'll pay us because we did this for you and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I'm coming across clear or not. I struggle with that. I'm sorry, so.
I guess my comment to that would be coming kind of hard from Lauren's department. I think he gets asked to do a lot of stuff and naturally has to show expenditures when it comes to budget end of it. And so, it just comes up as a point of interest, I guess, you know. Not that it's gonna break the bank in the Public Works Department, but it's an issue because there are numerous requests and, I don't know, you know, I think he just has to be open and upfront with it when it's there and, you know, make sure we're aware of it, so.
If
I
I,
can appreciate that.
if I may, Mr. Chair, so within our budget, per se, we have an authorized work category. Included in that is the work we do, all the work in the Lake Wobegon Trail, above and beyond construction projects, all the work we do at Battle Point Park, all the plowing we do here on this campus, and on the parking lot, the old Arway building. Also included any work we do for the fairgrounds. This being above and beyond that normal procedure, it's an additional large cost that we weren't sure what to do with, so we tallied it up and submitted it. If the board chooses to have us code that as authorized work, absolutely, we'll do it. But it's above and beyond what we normally see, since it's not really the Todd County Fair.
My argument is it is the Todd County Fair grounds. So, yeah, there's all kinds of activities, but, and yes, I was gonna say, well, then, should the courthouse, so should you bill the courthouse for doing the parking lot out here? So should, you know, no.
No.
So, I still argue it's the fairgrounds, it's our Todd County Fairgrounds, and we should be proud of it and use our money wisely and in taking care of it, so. And whatever the board decides, I'll respect, but I'm just giving my opinion, so.
I guess I'll make the motion that we do not charge the Ag Society. I know they're doing it as a fundraiser to put money back into the county fair again, so it's not gonna, you know, it's just generating money for them to reuse for the county fair. And they're, give them credit for trying to raise funds for that purpose. So I'll do that as a motion,
You're doing a motion to.
to forfeit the payment.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Becker to forfeit or remove the billing
Yes.
to the Egg Society. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second by Kircher. Discussion. Did you have something else you wanted to say, Randy?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I think what we should do is document and track the stuff that the Public Works is doing, whether it's for the Wabagon Trail, whether it's for the park, whether it's for the fairgrounds, and come back to the board and say, hey, you know, this is what we're putting into, so we can take a look at that. And then we have an idea of, okay, Public Works.
We actually did that 2 work sessions ago and
did?
showed you in
Where the hell was
detail.
I? Oh,
Well, we did. But we can do it
I ain't
again.
gonna answer that, Randy.
you remember it?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's a good idea, though, I really do. Just track it, and let's, then it come budget time, let's talk about that.
yeah,
Sure.
We track it all the time.
Good.
And I think just one other comment I'd like to make, I guess, too, then, just in regards to what you had commented, Commissioner Kircher, I think the thing that becomes a bit of an issue when you say it's our fairgrounds is we rent out the fairgrounds also.
Sure.
So then you have a private entity coming in and now they request Public Works to come and do something. Then where do we draw that line?
Then let's have a discussion on that in a work session.
You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of
Yeah,
unique.
it's a
It's
good
tough,
point.
tough situation, so.
Absolutely, but I think
but-
we should discuss it.
Thanks for bringing it forward,
Yeah.
so, and I have nothing against this either by any means, so. We had a motion and a second, in regards to forgiving the bill to the, Egg Society. Any other discussion?
Yes, and I'd just like to thank Lauren for helping and doing what he's doing. I don't mean to undermine your department, but I just think it's,
No, and if I may, we don't take it that way. We just weren't sure.
Yep.
It's kind of outside of the norm,
right,
Yep.
and so it's a good
and I appreciate that.
topic of
Yep.
Absolutely.
what should we do with this money?
Yep.
And you as the board make the decision and we'll follow it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good. We had a motion by Becker, second by Kircher. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Public Works, keep your chair.
Great, thank you. The one topic we have on the agenda today is a request for final payment authorization for a 2021 concrete crushing contract. And the background with this is earlier this year, we worked with the Solid Waste Division to let a contract to crush the concrete recycled pile out at the demo landfill there on our County Road 5. We took bids, we opened bids, we awarded a contract to Ferguson Crushing. They went out there and did a fantastic job. We have a very big, great pile that we'll be using for road maintenance. Also, solid waste has a portion of that pile. So at the end of the contract, our recommendations are to approve the final payment of that contract. So our options are to approve the attached resolution or do not approve attached resolution, and our recommendation is to approve the attached resolution, making final payment of $103,384.51 to Ferguson Aggregate and Crushing Incorporated.
All right, you've seen the board action, and I think there's a resolution under it, correct? Is that
Yep.
right? For the final payment authorization of the 2021 concrete crushing contract. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Newman, is there a second?
Second for discussion, Mr. Chair.
Second by Kircher, discussion?
Lauren, if I may, I'm assuming we have resold this concrete or are selling it, or no? What are we?
No, we're keeping it for our own use, so we actually inventoried into our system.
Okay,
And now it's technically, I guess you'd classify it in auditor's terms, it's an asset for the county that we'll be using, and then we'll expense it out throughout the years, through our cost accounting system.
okay, thank you.
Did we not have funding that came in, separate funding that we actually used to pay for this?
So if I may, initially, we chose to, use cash,
Right,
due to the adequate reserves we have inside of our Fund 3 or Road and Bridge. And then when what they call CARISA money, it's another 20-letter acronym of
right.
COVID money. And we got about 202,000 that not necessarily covered it, but covered the pay. So what we brought in and what we paid out equaled. So in the end, our budget or our balance stayed the same, but we ended up with a very good asset. That the money we paid and what the asset is worth, it's a lot better. It was a good, in other words, it was a good buy.
Good trade.
Yeah, a good trade.
Any other discussion? Okay, we had a motion by Newman, second by Kircher. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. County Sheriff.
Morning,
Good morning, Lonnie.
Steve is gone hunting pheasants, so here I am. We just have a couple items. The first one would be the acknowledgement of donations received for our K-9 fund. The sheriff's office received $4,182.31 in donations for the K-9 program. The Todd County Sheriff's Office would like the board to acknowledge these donations and express gratitude to the individuals that donated. There's an attached list of the businesses and people who have donated. Our recommendation is to acknowledge the donations received by the Sheriff's Office in the amount of $4,182.31.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to the donations received for the K-9 fund as presented. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Kircher, is there a second?
Second,
Second by Becker, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, the next item will be the budget carryover of the K-9 account. The Sheriff's Office would like to carry over the funds in the K-9 account from 2021 to 2022 in the amount of $98.28. The options are to approve the carryover or do not approve the carryover. Our recommendation is to approve the carryover in the amount of $17,098.28.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to the budget carryover for the sheriff's office K-9 account, amount totaling $17,098.28. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher. Discussion. You have one K-9 up and running now, is that correct?
Sort of.
Sort of.
It tore his
In
Achilles-
process?
It tore the Achilles tendon and
Oh.
had to have surgery, so we're looking at hopefully by May it'll be back to work.
Dog did
The
that,
dog
not
did.
the
No, the dog did,
operator.
yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of costs are involved in starting up a K-9 type thing like that?
15,500 for the dog and the training, and then 12 weeks of sending our handler to the cities for training, and along with the hotel room and everything else that goes with it, so
Wow,
I'm guessing 25,000 range.
to get one up and rolling. Nice. And then is there like maintenance stuff along the way too as it goes?
Well, apparently there's a very expensive vet bill right now.
Guess that's maintenance, right?
That's maintenance, otherwise, that's just monthly training type stuff.
In general,
and,
not
yeah,
too bad.
No, not horrible. If this one to happen, we'd be in really good shape.
Cool. Well, hopefully he'll be up and running shortly, so. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, then the final item would be the budget carryover for the forfeiture, contingency, and canteen funds. The sheriff's office would like to carry over the balances in the sheriff's office forfeiture fund, contingency fund, and canteen fund from 2021 to 2022 with a total amount of $23,872.34. Options are to approve or do not approve. The recommendation would be to approve the carryover of the funds in the forfeiture, contingency, and canteen fund in the amount of $23,872.34.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to the budget carryover for the funds as listed, total amount $23,872.34. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion by Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kircher, discussion.
Yes, I got a question. What do you use like the forfeited funds for? Is there special, because I see forfeited funds is 15,000.
Yeah, we've used that, to purchase our, side-by-side that we bought last year. We use funds out of the forfeiture account. Otherwise, we can use it for any drug-related training, or, like I said, it's sort of, it comes from our DWI and drug forfeitures is where that money comes from.
Okay.
Vehicles that we sell or cash that we forfeit.
Any other discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Lonnie.
Yep, thank you.
Planning and zoning, Adam.
Good morning.
Morning.
My first item this morning is Shane Keck request for CUP. An application for a conditional use permit was submitted on December 10th by Shane Keck to establish a tree trimming service on parcel 1500041904. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission on January 6th, 2020, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with 3 conditions. 1, that the applicant must abide by all applicable federal, state, and local standards and obtain additional permitting as necessary. 2, the applicant must establish 2 rows of trees to provide vegetative screening along the southern property boundary. And 3, the applicant must apply for an E911 address through Todd County GIS Department. The option would be to grant the CUP with the 3 conditions, deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. The recommendation at this time would be to grant the CUP on parcel 1500041904 with the 3 conditions as presented. And I notice I missed that 15 is Leslie Township, right? So this is in Leslie Township.
Okay, you've seen the board action for the request for the CUP by Shane Keck as presented. Looking for a motion to approve.
I'm gonna move for discussion.
Okay,
I'll second for discussion.
okay. Motion by Newman, seconded by Kircher.
Mr. Chair, this parcel, when it was platted off, had a wetland delineation done to it. I don't believe, reading the minutes, that this was brought up. It says in here, plant trees, must establish 2 rows of trees in the vegetated area in the southern part of the property. A lot of that southern part is delineated wetlands. So I would add another condition. Number 4 is that the applicant follow, that he must not be able to fill in any of the delineated wetlands. And that's it. If it was delineated, it should have been brought up at the planning commission, and it wasn't, so.
Just making myself notes, sorry. Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I question the requirement to plant 2 rows of trees for screening. Now, are these little seedlings that are gonna take 25 years to grow up for coverage from the neighbor to watch or whatever? I don't understand that because it's a meaningless condition. Or are these gonna be 10-foot trees that we're bringing in to plant, or is it for the neighbor can't see what's going on?
Sure, and that's a great question. And when it comes to screening, that question comes up at every planning commission meeting. It's a tough thing to determine what type of height a tree to plant. Smaller trees tend to grow faster, so you catch up. If you plant a bigger tree, it takes a lot longer for it to get established and start to grow anyway. So it's kind of a horse apiece when it comes to establishment of trees, although a bigger tree will give you immediate screening. In order to get good quality screening immediately, it takes a fence. And then this is in a residential area around a lake. Maybe a fence isn't the ideal option. The planning commission felt that trees, 2 rows of trees would suffice in the screening just from the public road on the south side there.
So if it's a wetlands, what damage did it do to the property when they go in and plant the trees?
I wouldn't have, you can plant trees, you can remove vegetation from wetlands, you just can't drain, fill, or have any sort of negative impact, but you can drive through them, you can farm wetlands, but there's just certain things you can't do, so,
Well, I see it as a meaningless condition, I'm sorry.
yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree until 20 years from now, then it'll be, but who knows what the property's gonna be used for then.
20 years, but
Yeah,
it's great
sure.
for them people in
Yep.
20 years, but I just think it's a meaningless condition. Yeah, it's good if he wants to. I would put, recommend, but I would not make it a condition.
Okay.
I'm the only one probably that's gonna say that, but
It's coming as a condition. Are you wanting to change it as a condition?
yes, I would put it that we recommend, not be a condition.
I would say that that's a conversation I have with Shane then, to recommend that, and then a condition is enforceable, something that has to be there, so I think removal, and then I will take it upon myself to have that conversation with Shane.
I strongly would recommend that he do it, but
Okay.
I don't think we should make it a condition because it really is meaningless point because the trees are gonna take 10 years to get up there to be a screening.
Absolutely, yep.
So,
Just to verify then, did we remove that? Is that correct? Is that what the recommendation was?
yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so remove, condition number 2, but then we added a condition for no fill in the delineated wetlands.
Exactly.
And I think that's part of the delineated wetlands thing,
It
as
is.
it states
But I
in
just
there.
want to make
Nope.
sure that the
That they're
owner's
aware of it.
aware
Yep.
of
Follow
that.
those
There's,
rules is what
Yep.
should.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, can I just point of clarification, that condition that was gonna be 4 would now be 3?
Yep,
And then, if it's okay with you, Commissioner Newman, and can we change the word fill to impacts? That would cover everything to wetlands, fill or drainage, anything like that. It just covers
Yeah,
a more
that would be
wider.
okay.
So I have it written that the applicant must not impact delineated wetlands.
Very good.
Okay, very good.
All right, we had a motion and a second. Would we need to change those with those changes being made within that discussion?
I think we should move to the amended requirements.
So we would need the motion to change to the amended
Yes.
requirements.
Yeah.
Motion came from Newman.
Yes.
You good with that?
Yeah. And I have
Second?
one other
Oh, I'm
issue,
sorry.
one
Let me
other
get the
issue
second
on
one
this.
second. Second is good with the changes?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't want this turning into like what we're doing right now with some of the garbage places, because it does look really shabby out there.
Yep.
And I've had a lot of neighbors complain, you know, he's piling crap all over and all that. So I just don't want this coming back in front of the board saying we're gonna start fining him for having crap all over.
I would agree, and if it gets to that public nuisance stage, we would have that conversation with Shane and try to get that addressed right away.
Cause there's a brand new house right next door, you know, and I'm sure the guy probably spent $500,000 on that house. And, I'm sure he doesn't like looking out his window, seeing all that crap laying there.
And we did only receive one piece of public correspondence from somebody closer to the lake. All those people in the neighborhood were notified of this, so hopefully if he had concerns, he would have participated in the meeting. But
went-
I absolutely agree with you that,
And a lot of them are
It's still-
snowbirds, so a lot of them go
Sure.
south.
Yeah.
So that's what I deal with out there, so.
So, Mr. Chair, it triggers a question in my mind. Is this an after-the-fact CUP?
it is kind of an after-the-fact CUP. He came and talked to us early in the process. We didn't understand the full nature of it, and then once he started bringing stuff out there, and we were able to see it, and then we followed up with Jason to confirm it absolutely needed a CUP at that point. So it's not, he was operating, but not as we initially believed he was going to be. So it's kind of an after fact, but not really.
And the complaints I started getting were back in May already,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, he's been out there for one season so far.
So everybody is clear with the changes with the
Yep.
motion and second?
I believe so.
Commissioners all clear with that? Adam clear with that?
Yep, and I'll edit this and get it to Jolene.
All right.
So-
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, next is the Board of Adjustments appointment. The Board of Adjustments currently does not have an alternate to the board due to the previous alternate being placed as a full-time member. Larry Beavis has expressed an interest in this role. Larry would be an at-large alternate to the board and is located in District 5. This term would expire at the end of 2022 to remain consistent with other District 5 board members. The option would be to approve Larry Beavis as an alternate to the BOA, to deny this, or make a recommendation for other appointment. And the recommendation would be to approve Larry Beavis as an at-large alternate to the Board of Adjustments with term expiring December 31, 2022.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to appointing Larry Beavis as an alternate to the Board of Adjustments. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Newman, is there a second?
I'll second for discussion, Mr. Chair.
Second by Kircher.
I'm in the
Discussion?
I'm in the discussing mood today. What, these people has brought, and I've got some in my district too, but I'm curious, I think I brought this up before, when we have people that are coming on our committees and boards, what are we doing for applications, information that we have on them, and are we doing any background checks? And I don't know this guy, maybe,
I know Larry pretty
Randy
well,
knows him.
so, but.
I mean, are we doing this to make sure we're safe when we're doing all this? I have nothing against the guy, I don't know him, but I'm just saying, I have people in my district that are being appointed. Some I know, some I don't, so are we doing any background checks, or what are we doing on these?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Kircher, I don't believe we went through that process with this appointment. And I know, I want to say probably in 2018, the board did pass, I'd have to look at what the specific action was, where you would do volunteer applications or those types of processes. So going forward, we will make sure that we hit those processes.
But just to protect ourselves and the citizens, because in this guy's probably a great guy, but I think we need to be consistent when we bring in volunteers, that we're doing the proper thing to serve our citizens in a legitimate way and make sure that the people we're appointing are good citizens and don't have, because you know, you hear these nightmares on the news where somebody's gotten appointed or something that there's a background that's not good. So I would appreciate if we would follow our own policy, so.
Yep, and I will take a closer look at that. I know that it was written, I think, for volunteer citizens, but I'll look to see if that just covers like all
Yep.
appointed board members as well.
The process I had been following, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it
The
was all-
process I typically follow would be to find these candidates and then run them by whoever commissioner district they're in, so you have an opportunity to speak with them. I know that Randy knows Larry quite well. Larry is going to be a great addition to the BOA. He's on our AAS committee, township board, pretty heavily involved around the county with other things, so he'll be a good candidate for it.
Right. I just think the county needs to protect themselves
Mhm.
when we're doing this kind of stuff, and I appreciate people volunteering and want to be on our committees, but we still have to protect ourselves, and that's what we should be doing, so.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, and carry forward funds. The attached budget request form details specific carry forward funds related to planning and zoning, and there isn't actually any soil and water items in there. That would be carried into the 2022 budget. So the options would be to authorize these funds to carry forward into 2022 or do not authorize, and the recommendation would be to authorize the carry forward for the planning and zoning funds as outlined in the budget request form. These are all grant funds that we just haven't expended yet, that would typically use for staff time or cost-sharing septic systems of things of that nature, where you get a couple years to spend them. So in order to do that, we got to roll them into the new budget.
Okay, seeing the board action in regards to carryover funds in planning and zoning, listed in a separate item there.
This is a budget request
Budget
form.
request form, sorry, and looking for a motion to approve as presented.
I will make that motion.
Motion by Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman, any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of board actions this morning. I have the first board action is a change to personnel policy to remove references to merit. The background on this is the Policies Committee has worked to review and update the personnel policy, Article 1 and Article 3, to remove references to merit. The options are to approve the resolution or to not approve the resolution, and the recommendation is to approve the attached resolution for adoption of changes to the Todd County Personnel Policy as presented.
Okay, you've seen the board action as presented in regards to changes to the personnel policy, removing any references to merit. Is there a motion to approve?
I will make that motion.
Motion by Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The second board action that I have is to establish minimum salaries for elected officials for the next term. The background on this is Minnesota statutes require the setting of minimum salary for county auditor, treasurer, county recorder, county sheriff, and county attorney for the next term of 2023. The options are to approve the attached resolution setting the elected officials' minimum salary or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve the attached resolution establishing minimum salary for elected county officers.
Okay, you've seen the board action in regards to establishing the minimum salaries for elected officials as presented,
Could we scroll up, please? Thank you.
with the resolution with the dollar amount stated per position. Would be looking for a motion to approve.
So move with discussion.
So moved by Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion.
Okay, how did you, must have went through this at personnel?
We did.
Yes.
Okay. So how did you drive? I see that you had comparisons. Was it all done on comparisons?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Becker, if I could just add a little bit of dialogue to this. When we did review this in personnel, and when we took a look at this, we looked at what was done in 2018 and what those amounts were set in 2018. We looked at the comparable counties that we very often reference when we look at elected officials' salaries. We also looked at where the current salaries were for the chief deputies within those offices. We took all of that information into consideration and came up with these recommended amounts. If we compare this to 2018 when these were set, the county recorder in 2018, this minimum salary was set at $60,000. For the auditor treasurer, it was at $75,000. The county attorney was, I want to say it was at $98,000, and the sheriff was at $88,000. So we took all of those factors into consideration. This, just to give a little bit of explanation on the minimum salary setting, this is for any newly elected official. So any current elected official, you would not use these amounts in figuring out what their salary would be. This is only for newly elected. And to further that a little more, if any of these current elected officials would leave office during term, and you would have to appoint one of these, you would not use these figures either for that appointment. This is only for newly elected officials. And this is recommendation, and of course the board could change these numbers to be higher or lower. When these salaries are set, you cannot go below this minimum in setting their salary.
Any other discussion?
Was there a motion and a second?
Yes, there is. Motion by Becker, second by Newman.
Mr. Chair, we discussed this quite a while,
Yeah.
and we wanted to make sure that it was fair and equitable, and it was tough, and we had to go back to, what's the under sheriff making, what's everybody else making, and then try to figure it out from there, if the sheriff doesn't run, or that individual doesn't run, so.
Makes it interesting.
Well, that's fine and dandy, but let's say the sheriff, I'm gonna use that for an example, decides not to run, and the chief deputy or whoever runs within the department, and the chief deputy would get elected, then the appointee, then the sheriff's salary would be set at a minimum of 100 or whatever thousand. Then the chief deputy comes in and says, well, okay, the sheriff's salary's at 100,000, I want 90 or 95,000. Is that what we are going to do?
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Kircher, if the newly elected sheriff would come in and make a salary request of $99,000, you could not set it at $99,000 for the newly elected. This would be the minimum.
I understand that. Well, and then, on the other hand, two of these are, well, three of them actually are elected positions. So, they're all elected, I'm
All
sorry.
elected,
I
yeah.
was thinking. So they're all elected. Let's say somebody from Timbuktu runs and gets elected. Qualifications are pretty minimal. Then we say, well, we're gonna give you 100,000 or 105,000. And your qualifications and experiences may be very minimal.
If I could just add to that, the qualifications for county attorney and county sheriff are different
Yes,
than.
understood.
Okay,
They have to
So
have a
they're-
license to run,
yes.
Yep.
understood. But, I mean, I was in that position. All of a sudden, there's 10 people want your position. They maybe are a patrolman for a little city and want to be the sheriff, and let's say they get elected, okay, we're gonna move you in and give you 100,000. We're cornered, guys, so.
You're tied.
I'm just saying,
So these are recommendations, and you absolutely could set these at a lesser amount than what is here, with the understanding that this is minimum, and you will consider those salaries when after the elections take place, you'll consider and take their qualifications and all of that into consideration.
And it's hard because this is a state
Oh, I know.
requirement that we have to set these,
I
you
just think
know.
it takes it out of the control of the board when we're saying, well, you know, I don't have no problem if the next guy in line gets elected and we get, you know, the salary is probably just a little bit below what our setting, but if somebody out from the blue runs and gets elected with no experience, we're already said this is gonna be your salary, minimum salary, so.
Yep.
And if we compare this to what you did in 2018, again, just for reference, the recorder was 60,000, the auditor treasurer was approximately 75,000, the sheriff was at 88. We set it at the exact salary of the current sheriff at that time, and the county attorney was at 98,000. So, and this is salary for 2023, so that would be like a 5-year increase from what we set
So,
in
Chris,
2018.
right now, excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Right now, the sheriff is taking the highest bump, per se, from the last time.
The sheriff did get the
88
highest
to-
increase, yep.
The increase is taking the highest increase.
Yes, and putting him at that 92%. You're saying from here? Yes, the sheriff is taking the highest increase from that 2018 amount.
Yes.
If your comfort level is to move this entire chart back down to that 2018 level, I mean, it's pretty much moving everybody down by roughly 5,000, except for the sheriff, it would be still a little bit higher.
Well, I've always liked the idea that we would set them at a lower thing, but negotiable with the county board at the time their oath of office is taken and they take office. And I don't have any problem with saying someone coming in that's been in law enforcement for 30-some years and wants to be the sheriff and is well-experienced, to give them that minimum. I have no problem with that. But if we have somebody from Timbuktu that comes in and says, well, I got elected sheriff, I don't know how it happened, but I'm the sheriff now, and we're gonna give you 100,000, so I just thought it gives the board a little more negotiable, privilege to say to the new elected official, okay, prove to us that you are worth $100,000, so. And the job itself is a serious job, and they all are, but, you know, we have to, I think, have a little flexibility in our position as a county board of what we want to do, so.
Jason, did you have a comment?
Yes, question, Mr. Chair. Chris, does statute require a set minimum?
Yes, statute requires that you set a minimum salary in January in the year prior to filing.
But they're ridiculous.
Minimum amount that statute
Yes.
requires.
So that's an interesting question as well. The county attorney minimum is $6,000 for our population. The rest of them used to have that kind of, I'm going to say egregious amount or really erroneous amount for the rest of them. They've since updated those statutes and removed those bare minimums.
Okay.
So the one for the county attorney,
Work could go down to 50,000 for everybody and
the board could.
move it up accordingly.
When you set these salaries in 2018, these minimums, you did some studying and there were some amounts that were put in based on those factors that we used this time. And if these amounts are a little bit too high for you, the board absolutely could adjust these down back to those 2018 amounts or less if you choose.
What's your wishes? We've had a motion and a second with discussion on these numbers, if you'd like them changed. Looking for input.
Well, my take is if, say, if somebody doesn't run on the under, whether it's the auditor, treasurer, or the recorder, and you're coming into the election year and you're gonna be making, as a union employee, more than that position, why would you wanna run for that position? I mean, you'd have to weigh that and then lose some of your benefits.
But they are just minimums.
Right.
They're not necessarily the set
Exactly.
wage for it.
Yeah, you can't come back in and say, well, you've got 20 years' experience at the county, we're gonna offer you more. But,
Correct, we are not set on those dollar
but that's
figures
not
as min-
guaranteed that the board
Only
would do that.
minimums.
Right.
These are just minimums. And if the comfort level is to get these lower, we could match the 2018 numbers if you choose.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I think where the confusion is coming is back in 18, Mr. Kircher's correct. This minimum is just set as a flat fee, and that's why old statute did say the $6,000 for an attorney. That's, nobody's gonna get hired for $6,000, because then once you win that election, Commissioner Kircher stated it right, then you come before the board, you get appointed, and you're negotiating for your salary for that upcoming year. It's all done within a 2-month span. This isn't the high number that, this is what they're gonna, well, yeah, this is the minimum. But what I'm trying to say is, you would come in and you would negotiate. If you had 20 years of experience, you would negotiate up
Right.
in your salary. This is supposed to be like a bare minimum in case, like Kircher said, if somebody came off the street and waltzed in and said, oh, I'm gonna put my name on the ballot, and had no experience as nothing.
Mr. Chair, they could all be set at 50,000.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
We just tried to use some rhyme or reason and something that made
Appreciate
sense.
that, Yeah.
I guess my only one that I'm really kind of debating on is the sheriff one, because that one went up more so than the other ones did.
But we did that according to market, because we looked at the market, he was way below salary on that.
Open for changes, otherwise I have a motion for the numbers that are there. If you're looking for a change, make a change to your motion or second, otherwise we'll proceed with the motion as presented.
Mr. Becker?
No, I mean, you guys went through personnel, I mean, I was on personnel last time, I know the work that you do and the research you do to get to that
Yes.
point, so.
Gonna leave your motion? Second's gonna
Alright.
stay. Motion and a second to use numbers as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you.
Discussion on the vaccine ruling.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Kircher asked to add this to the agenda. At the last board meeting, I brought a board action regarding the OSHA and CMS vaccine mandates. And the options that were presented at that time were to approve a policy regarding vaccination testing and masking. And the other option was to hold pending Supreme Court decision, and then the other option was to not approve the policy. The option that was taken at that time, I believe, was to hold on taking action, waiting the Supreme Court outcome. And the outcome of that was decided on January 6th. Supreme Court ruled to have a stay on the OSHA vaccine mandate and to continue with the healthcare mandate. So that would be the CMS mandate that remains in effect. So with the OSHA one, no action needs to be taken. With the CMS mandate, we are still trying to figure out what the guidelines are. They have shifted the dates for notification and for vaccination, so we are still working with HHS on clarifying that information. We are still trying to determine what specific staff are affected by that CMS mandate, and I will be working with Jackie. We have a meeting set up for January 25th to go over all of those mandates and see where we are at with those staff. Because that is a mandate that affects one office. A policy could come specifically for that office, and we do allow policies within departments to have a departmental policy. But at this time, there was not going to be any specific action requested by the board. So the action we took last time was to hold waiting a Supreme Court outcome. We can rescind that board action if that's appropriate, but the action was to hold and wait for the outcome, and we know what the outcome is.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple questions, and I think I've gotten the answer to this one. The federal OSHA, the Supreme Court ruled that the OSHA thing was not valid. And how does that affect our state OSHA? And I think I've gotten the answer that our state OSHA will abide by the federal OSHA.
Commissioner Kircher, you're
ruling.
correct. They suspended their mandate.
Then my other question is, obviously in HHS we have public health. And my interest in that is how does this involve them and their concern? I think you've said you are in discussion with Jackie on this, the director. I would be, as a board member, curious as to the conclusion of your discussion. I question whether that part is applicable to our public health. And I don't know if there's been any fine tuning of this ruling, that it does apply to public health or does not, or?
Commissioner Kircher, from what we understand, it applies to a portion of our Health and Human Services, part of public health and part of social services. Actually, there's a mix, because they're a combined department, it can affect both sides, not specifically just public health. It is specific to home care, so we are looking at who are those specific staff within Health and Human Services that would be covered under this mandate for home care. So it affects more than just nurses going out into the field. It could also affect billing staff. So it's bigger than just public health, and it's more than just public health. It affects some billing staff. So we're trying to figure that piece out, who it specifically affects, and I can bring this back to the February 1st board meeting as a discussion topic to follow up with all of you, if that would be appropriate.
I would like to see more discussion with the Personnel Committee
Yeah.
to see where that's gonna go and what's gonna happen, the effects it has on our county employees,
Sure.
if that could happen.
I'll put that on the agenda for the next
you.
Personnel Committee.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Thank you for the report.
You're welcome.
All right, otherwise, I believe we would be to standing reports. Auditor, treasurer?
We are just working with the auditors, prepping for them coming. Lots of questions, lots of wrapping up, prepping. As to today's comment, I will follow up with the gentleman on the election questions and see if we can't get an answer from the state sooner rather than later, since he's been waiting. And then I just wanted to clarify on that allocation. It's bugged me since we had that board action. Todd County only pays one allocation a time. It's when they've come back in later in the year and requested more money
Oh,
that they've gotten more.
right, so
But
we're allocating the
we
full amount.
Allocate the full amount
amount.
to the
Corrections.
Todd County Development, or co-op, or
Yep.
whatever. And also, anybody that comes in for an allocation, it's a one-time payment.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify that, because it does get confusing when they come back in later in the year when they're short money or needing.
Sure.
And they have done that before.
Okay. Commissioner reports? Anyone? Hearing none. Coordinators reports.
I have nothing at this time. Thank you.
All right. Otherwise, at this point, do I look for a motion for adjournment for the month of January?
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Where am I at?
Down below.
Oh, here? Oh, sorry. I am not with it this morning, sorry.
Are we good?
I guess we're good now.
All right, sounds good. All right, we will start the work session. We have one item on the work session today, discussion on creation of an Adopt a Highway program. Lauren Feldbaum, County Engineer.
Very much. So a quick background on this, at our fall road meeting, we had a quick topic of discussion on whether or not Public Works has an in-place Adopt a Highway program, which we did not at that time. So through discussion at that, the board requested that I do some research on it and bring back for discussion the potential creation of an Adopt a Highway program for Todd County Public Works. The benefit of being last in line on this is we have a lot of good examples to work off of. A lot of our neighbors has them, not all of them, but a lot of them have it. So in all honesty, I copied a lot of what they already had done, because if it works for them, why would we change it? So within that, I put together a quick presentation, and a lot of these are basically right from our proposed application for an Adopt a Highway program, and I'm just gonna go over the highlights of it. But really, I'm here, ask questions on what we're proposing here. So within that, we would have individuals, if they want to come to Public Works, we'd ask them to pick one of two things, either adopt a highway or pick a highway. Adopt a highway would mean that they would select a segment of highway, and they'd agree to adopt it for a 2-year period. But if they chose to, we just want to come in as a service group, we want to do a one-time activity, we'd call that pick a highway, and they could come in and basically say, on such and such a date, we're gonna pick County Road 5 from this place to this place. Within that, they both would have to, below, put their name of the group representative's address, all the things, email, signature, all that, and we'd review what they're being proposed, and obviously we would then internally approve of that request. So going on to the second page, we put some conditions inside of that the group would have to agree to. They'd have to pick up a litter, obviously, on the segment that they selected. They'd have to review safety information from MnDOT's Adopt a Highway program. We only allow them to pick up litter basically during daylight hours. We don't want them at night. And we really want to keep them in the months of the year where we think it's most safe as far as noxious weeds, being May, October. We don't want them out there all the time, especially in the midsummer when the grass is really tall. They're not going to see any litter anyways. We're not really going to allow, kids really under the age of 18 unless they're 12 and they have adult supervision. They can't really work outside the boundaries of the right-of-way. They can't go into the adjoining fields unless the property owner agrees to it. They kind of have to tell us when they're going to do it so we can arrange time to pick up the litter. And then they basically have to come in and pick up the supplies at their own time. And we would provide them bags and safety vests to accomplish that. So that's kind of what they'd be responsible for. What Public Works would be responsible for is, like I said, going on to that third page. Thank you, Janice. We provide vests, safety information, trash bags. We'd remove the trash bags and take them up to our solid waste transfer station. We've already talked to Chris McCon up there, and that's part of service of Todd County. They'd be willing to take that garbage basically from the road right away. If they found any large items, people don't like tires or washing machines or whatever, they just have to let us know. We'd go remove those large items. And then for the groups that adopted a highway, not just pick a highway, adopt a highway where they're gonna go a 2-year term, we'd actually put up a sign for them in recognition of their work. And here's the item 4 is the conditions of that type of sign. If there's any changes they want to the sign after we put it up, obviously they'd be charged that cost. Our next part was basically we went through using our software. We basically have an inventory of every segment of road. Here's how we'd break it up. The road from a state highway or a county road to another county road. Some of them get pretty big. We'd really try to like to limit it, at least they do a 2-mile stretch. We'd like more if possible, but we really don't want them to come in and say, we want to pick up the 300 feet in front of our house and put up a sign. That's really not what this program is about. We'd really want them to say from the county road south of their house up a mile to the county road north of the house a mile, and give a good 2-mile minimum. We want it worth our time and their time for this program to be a success. So that's just a little snippet of what this huge, I think it's like 7 pages long, of the possible segments that they could select. So based on that information, I prepared on the next slide, a resolution, or excuse me, a board action form, really basic, basically saying, you bring this information, we talked about it, and per that day, the county board would be approving of the creation of the Adopt a Highway program. If this approved, then we'd actually put this out on our website, and maybe do a little Facebook post or something to that effect. And then we'd be up and going and an approved Adopt a Highway program.
About time.
Concerns?
Been done a long time ago.
I like the looks of it.
Okay,
Did a good job.
thank you. Like I
you
said,
it's helpful to be able to copy and steal or whatever, but
yeah, there, I would say within 5 minutes, I had 10 examples. Just a quick Google search out to their websites.
nice.
Can I ask a question? Do you have a lot of people that do the adopted highway thing? Because it seemed like it was a big thing back in its day. And now if you drive by certain areas, like, you can tell the sign is gone, like, okay, nobody's adopting that part of the
We
highway.
don't have one now. And I would say in my career,
The state does though.
the state does. In my career, we've been asked twice.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like, I don't want to sound negative, but it sounds like a lot of people don't just go do it like they used.
Yeah, and now we are concerned, that's why we put the May and October. With the vegetation we have in our right-of-way, the wild parsnip, poison ivy, our guys don't even like to go out in the ditches, so we're hesitant. I mean, we wanna make sure they're safe. So we're really gonna stress that they look at MnDOT's website for safety, you know, wearing boots, wearing long pants, wearing gloves, personal protection items that they should be aware of. Don't be rolling around in the ditch. It's not necessarily a safe spot to be, so.
Well, if I could say, you know, during my tenure, when, in my former job, there was the meth lab, peak, where a lot of meth labs and the, they were throwing their manufactured waste into the ditches, and we were telling people, don't touch it, just leave it, you know, if you see it, call us, we'll pick it up or something, so. But I think that era has passed, and so.
We haven't seen anything
Right,
like
I
that
think
for a
it's,
while.
this is a good time to bring it in, because I think that meth lab business has kinda deteriorated and kinda gone to the wayside, so.
But once in a while, on a Monday, we'll get a call on a slightly used sofa.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, slightly.
Yeah.
Being nice, slightly used, that may or may not have fell off the truck. But most of the stuff, we get calls and we pick it up, but, the little stuff, we try it, we don't have time, but this would be a good opportunity to.
Lauren, and maybe you guys talked about it, I didn't make the highway meeting, but dead carcasses, what are you, I mean, is there anything, and I know it's a dirty job, but, you know, they lay it aside of the road and they just lay there till they deteriorate, so,
If it's in the ditch, as long as it's not near a home, we leave it.
yeah.
It deteriorates. Nature itself takes care of it, or we may adjust it with a mower.
I just wondered if it raised havoc with the mowers, so,
No, our mowers are
okay,
well built.
just,
However, if it is in a residential area, we will
yep,
pick it up. We have a Tommy gate on one of our trucks,
sure.
so we can drag it up there and lifts it up,
Okay.
and we find a spot for it.
Nicer to catch them fresh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
It's, remember the show with Mike Rowe, Dirty Job?
Mm-hmm.
Dirty Job.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Lauren, are you going to put that safety information within your packet when you hand that out also?
We're gonna put, we referenced MinDOT's website, cause it does change, and they're up to speed on all that information, so.
Okay. Or if someone
could
comes, I
sure-
just wanna make sure that that they see the safety part of it.
Yeah, it's part of the agreement, so.
Good. Looks nice. Thank you.
I'll submit it, for board approval at the next meeting, and, we'll move from there, so.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.